And we're live. Welcome everybody to episode 16 of the Endless Blading Show. Sorry for the delay. Well, it was actually all my problems. My internet did not want to cooperate. But we're here. We made it. Um, so today we have a great episode planned. We are going to talk about something really super cool that just happened, which was the Return Berlin event. And I'm joined here by Billy Arlu and Jonathan Mendoza from Return Berlin. So welcome, guys.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you. Hi, Brad.
Hey,
Excited to be
hey.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for everyone's patience as we get this stuff sorted. I'm on my iPad today, so that's why things look like they're askew. Um, Welcome everybody in the chat. We're also live on Instagram, so I can see your comments on Instagram. And so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. We get the YouTube feed here on our studio, so Billy and Jonathan will be able to see those questions. So today, yeah, we kind of want to recap what happened in Berlin and also talk about the Endless 90 Ultra Frame. And so let's just jump into it. So, Jonathan, you're the guy that created this event. Maybe you can just tell everybody what the event is about, what happened in Berlin.
So, it's not just me. We are a team of 7 persons. There's a great team. So we work really, really nice together. This is the second year of ReTurn. The second edition that was bigger, almost the double of people. That was crazy. As the first year we had around 150, 170 people, and this year over 300. That was really dope. The first idea is coming also from other festival in Berlin. It's the Abriss Festival. It's a aggressive skating festival, always in September. And yeah, 3 years ago, at the end of the Abriss, that was this really nice atmosphere in summer, more than 30 people skating. And I had this idea, just like Berlin is a really nice place to do something like this. We have the Tempelhofer Feld is a airport, which now is a public park, and we have an amazing areas for skating. So really nice ground, nice view. It's just perfect for something like return and for wizard skating. Uh, and then this idea was like I talked first with Sebastian Bagge, who is the artist behind all the design of return. He said, like, Sebastian, let's do something like Abriss, but with wizard. And the first idea was just like, I don't know, maybe having 50 people, maybe some people from Germany, some other people from Europe would be nice. But the response first year was amazing. Also from the skaters, from the skate scene, and also from the sponsors from all of you guys was just like directly, okay, let's go, all in. And yeah, that was the first edition, was great. We were pretty sketchy. That was all just like not illegal, but not registered. We had no permissions for anything.
Mhm.
And this second year, we went pretty serious. So we got permissions for everything. Now, Return is not only the event. Return is also a sport club in Germany. And then we want to like do other things with Return. Yeah, we're gonna notify about that. And then yeah, we did everything like to the rules. We got a really nice skate park for the really nice venue skate park for the movie night. That was the Thursday. Also, Return is 4 days festival. The first day is just like coming along, saying hello, reunion. Everybody is
Mhm.
coming, and it was really nice to have you all in Mauerpark. That's the only moment that we are not on Tempelhofer Feld. And then the other 3 days, the Friday is all day on Tempelhofer Feld. And that happens something that is also a little bit new, in the industry, in the events. which is the frame testing. So for us was also really important that people, as frames in general are not so cheap, and people are just like always like, yeah, I don't know, I have 310 or I have 480s. Why should I try something like that? So just the frames are 200, 300, 400. It's too much. But actually, when you have those frames on your skates, you notice what's the difference and how fun they are. So that was for us really important, that gives that opportunity to people, just like, okay, people come, test the frames, and maybe you get in love. And that happens on Friday. Then people can test frames from all the brands. We skate. We have like open sessions, workshops. Billy was giving a workshop also this year, last year also. And we have at the end of the day the game of flat. That was pretty cool. That was really, really nice. Billy,
cool.
I don't. For you was also nice, but a little bit rough at the end.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, but was really nice. It was also for me is one of my highlights. So seeing all these amazing skaters skating and then just like battling. That's on Friday, and we have all the semifinals, and the finals are gonna be, or they were on Sunday. Then Saturday we have also like workshops, the alley blade race through the city. Then we go to the skate park. We went to the skate park, and that was the vibe there was great, was amazing. So having 250 people sitting down in front of screen seeing skating videos, that's also like one of the highlights. It's amazing moment. That was also the premiere of Toe Jam, so really nice moment also. There you go.
It was really cool to get to share a video that I worked on, or that I edited and produced, right? In Berlin. Like, telling people I was premiering a movie in Germany was like, I felt so cool. And it was really quite a good energy in the room for that. So yeah, amazing that you guys got that space. Stunning.
Yeah, that was let's see what happened next year, but yeah, we were really happy with the venue. So the people there were also pretty nice. Also, everything was
skate park, movies, beer, popcorn. I don't think you can
what
ask
do you
for
need?
much more than that.
What else? No.
Oh, and food court nearby, like the most hipster place I've ever been, probably. Brad, imagine like all these buildings are like, so like, what's the right word for it? Like run down, or very like, not abandoned,
like industrial, yeah,
and
like Berlin.
but like a lot of Berlin is like very clean and modern and like shiny, and then there's obviously like more like older, more ancient type things, but then this area is like, there's no cars can go through there, so like, but the roads are like all crumbling, and it's just like, it's a very cool vibe. There's a lot of street art and like clubs and all kinds of cool stuff. I had heard about this place, Rajaland. Is that how you say it? Or
raw, yeah, it's just like raw, and but RB in German, RB Gelände, yeah.
Gelände.
But everybody says raw.
It was so cool. We heard about it before we went out there, and then to realize that's where we were going is like, okay, we're gonna do the. It's like, didn't feel very touristy, which was cool.
Yeah. So. Actually, this is also pretty interesting because that skate park, the skate park, Skatehalle Berlin. So like when I came to Berlin 10 years ago, I remember going there with my skates, and then when I was at the door, this guy was just like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I want to skate." Yeah, inline skates are not allowed here. That was just for skateboarding for a lot of time. That was Nike was the sponsor, the main sponsor, and they don't want inline skates inside. So we were just like banned for a lot of years, and then 4 years ago the administration changed. Now the sponsor is Vans, the main sponsor, and people get really open. So now inline skates, roller skates, also scooters are welcome, and that's why it's really crazy that after 10 years, I was just like thinking about that. It's just like 10 years. We're organizing an event now. The first event on inline skates also in the venue in this skate hall. They are,
Wow.
yeah, they are all just like almost all the time just on skateboard on BMX. Some events there's also on BMX, but the most of them are on skateboards, and that was the first one on inline skates in skate hall. So that was also pretty nice.
That's pretty impressive.
So how many people came to this event total?
Total over 300. Yeah.
And did you guys limit the registration at whatever that number was, or did you just kind of let as many people show up as they wanted?
No, we closed the registration with 250 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that
And
was just this contingent of other people like the friends and I don't know, riders who were not registered and so on and so on. And then we landed over 300 people.
that's amazing. And what did you do last year?
Last year we had other venue that was just like more
No, I mean, how many
improvised
people?
everything.
How many people came?
How many people? 100 registers, 150, but we have over 170 people.
Yeah. So it grew. So it maybe doubled this
Yeah,
year.
I think it's
Yeah.
So does that mean next year you guys are gonna increase the number of people that you're gonna allow to
I
register? Or
was
are
I,
you gonna try and keep it small and intimate?
I was talking about that with Billy. So we have in 2 days we have the first reunion with the team after ReTurn. So there's nothing official, but we talk about that. We don't want to grow up, so to grow much more, because so it's really nice ambient. So the atmosphere when you feel like the people you already know are coming back, and I
Yeah.
don't know, it's not just like a massive event. It's pretty familiar, would I say? And then we want to keep it like that. Also, it's important. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly how much we can or want grow, but not so much.
Yeah. This year was the first year too that you had like a vendor showcase, like an area
Yes.
in a time and a place for different skate brands to present their wares and sell t-shirts and frames and wheels and skates and whatnot, right?
Yeah, that was the first year. Also, last year we had a small booth for Edo, um, and also Rui Vieira brought some T-shirts, and he did just like improvised booth.
Yeah.
And we thought about that, just like yeah, that makes sense. Also, like the brands have a platform to sell products. The problem is like in Temple of Afel, we cannot. So Temple of Afel and all the parks in Berlin are protected, are really protected against commercial activity. So we cannot sell or do any commercial or, for example, publicity, advertisement. That's not allowed. But that was also important of from the venue that we can have at the skate park, the showroom, and all the brands had like a booth. Then yeah, it was pretty cool to connect with the people directly. People can also test the frames, test the wheels, boots, and so on directly on the skate park. That was also
Mm.
a good opportunity to get close to the brands and from the brands to the skaters directly.
And shops too, right? We had there was This Is Soul
Yeah,
shop was there. I think maybe
yeah,
just that shop, but yeah, there was quite a few brands. It was nice to talk to the brand owners and to also like shop owners. Like talking to Evo was cool. Um, I've never really
yeah,
chatted with him too much, so it was nice. And then of course ended up having dinner with him like the next day. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
there's so
right.
many opportunities to, I don't even want to call it networking because it feels just like friends. But there's obviously some commercial or business aspect to it where people are talking to potential sponsors for their skating, and I saw a lot of connections being made between
Yeah,
individual skaters and brands,
yeah,
people receiving support, stuff like that. So um, I mean, that's a an amazing benefit as an attendee, um, and as a brand to kind of, here's the pool of skaters, right? Like in a way,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Do you think that though that kind of more commercial atmosphere detracts from the spirit of the event though?
I don't think so.
I think
Also,
there's
I
enough
think that,
different types of things. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's just like open, and there is this one more option, but it's just not like everybody's like pushed to go to the showroom. That was also like pre-open. That was open session. People were skating at the skate park when other people were buying or testing products.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Sometimes I'm thinking about this like this in the industry or in the events. No? That sometimes, yeah, of course, we do this not because we want to get rich doing inline skating events. Makes no sense. But it's also important to accept that actually it's not possible without money. You cannot rent a place like the skate halle without money. You cannot improve all the community, improve the skating of the best skaters if there's no production, if there's no economical activity. And sometimes I feel like we tend to romanticize everything a little bit too much, and then yeah, it's also important. It's also important to recognize that there is an economical, material aspect that is part of it.
Yeah, as the brands and the folks in the industry, can build whatever you want to call it, equity or cash or whatever. Just as there's more commerce happening, there's more potential also for increasing the exposure to new people, right? More advertising money can go in, and now people are seeing wizard skating or whatever kind of style of skating that aren't already in it. So I don't know. I see as things grow, it hopefully benefits back into the community and more people can kind of participate. That's how I see it.
You had some new brands this year compared to last year. It seemed like the first year it was pretty much just brands that were making wizard style skating frames or flow frames, but it seems like you've had like this year there was some interest from some of the bigger skate brands. Do you want to like who was new this year that showed up?
This year, where Cougar was new there, Mad Skating was new there. We got some also sponsoring from Flying Eagle. Also a skate shop in Germany, Grindhouse. I don't want to forget anybody. But those are.
Powerside didn't have much first year, right? But they had a whole booth the second year.
Yeah, no, but the first year they sent some frames and they support us also.
Oh, okay.
First year. That was not so not like this year. Yeah, Powerslide was more present this year, but yeah, they were also the first year. Yeah, and yeah, it's just like pretty interesting. Also, like see how is this like this atmosphere in between. Also, brags are it's pretty chill. So
right. With I didn't really pay attention to see if there was brand owners talking to brand owners, if that makes sense.
Yes,
but I'm assuming that they were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the things that comes up with Winter Clash, which is the aggressive skating, kind of the premier aggressive skating convention, festival, what have you. They have a trade show, and they also have like I don't know what you'd call it, but like meetings or council meetings.
There's so talks and meetings. There's so different talk activities also by Winter Clash. Yeah,
I could just see, some sort of unofficial or official sort of meeting of the minds would be interesting. Like, where are we taking this industry? And I don't know what kinds of questions would be answered, but I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear different brand owners talking about the direction of the industry and stuff like that. But it would be, no one's going to want to share any secrets or anything like that. So
Well, maybe next year you guys can host. You can have like a panel discussion hosted by, or with people from the brands on the panel or something.
That would be also pretty dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
thinking about this kind of option, like panels, like at Winter Clash also. That will be also pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because I
right
think
now
there
we are
is
just
like,
collecting ideas.
yeah, I think there is an interesting, there's this dialogue that happens between the skaters where you guys are like sharing, tips and tricks about movement and skating techniques and stuff like that. But I also think there could be, there could be a dialogue between skaters and the brands, that you help facilitate. I think some of that happens, every brand probably does that to some extent organically or through their social media page. I think some brands are probably more engaged with the end
Yeah.
user customer than other brands are. Um, like a small brand like myself, like like I sit there and answer the messages I get on Instagram, but maybe the person running the rollerblade account isn't reporting up the chain to the CEO of rollerblade. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes. Yes.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it could be a cool opportunity, I think, in the future to like, yeah, facilitate some type of dialogue. Was there anybody that unveiled any interesting new tech this year?
That was yeah, they are new. They were new. ReTurn, these guys from Greece. They brought the Aneon frames. That was a
Hmm.
new one. Yeah, there's
A
just
what?
like really small
It's
one.
like,
Aneon.
yeah, AENON. I think like on, yeah, they're very open. They have like a arch
Yeah.
or a kind of a
Oh, yeah,
truss
it does the
shape
little,
to it.
yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
still like
Okay.
the
I saw a
trapezoid
picture.
shape on the outside, but then yeah, there's like a lot of room inside. It's like a 4x90, I
Yeah.
think. It looked cool.
Yeah,
Finish
Fortnite.
was nice,
Yeah.
and it looked crazy lightweight for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really light. I didn't skate them already. I
Yeah,
wanna
neither.
try them, but yeah, they're really light. They're pretty light. It's really interesting frame. Um,
I saw.
Otherwise, that was just like small talks about just like we were talking now, Billy, about just like heel racers, insoles, blah blah blah. But so really new stuff. Anion was like the
Mhm.
new frame, new tech.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and then
What, so go ahead, Billy.
no, I was just thinking of the only prototype that I saw was Kyo from Mad Skating had a small advanced type frame. It was like a 9076.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like, I don't think released yet, but it's a wheel size we've seen from Rockin has one. I think it's a
Yeah, rocking.
165 mount. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool to see. You know, Rockin also has like the Versa frame. That one was quite popular. I feel like I saw a few people with that one. I didn't see any of their crazy prototypes though. I think Maurice and Florian had some pretty crazy prototypes from Rockin, but they didn't bring them with them this year. So
Yeah.
I like seeing the really weird stuff, like really, like let's go really big or
Yeah.
really small or whatever. So I also
So
did
what
not
did
bring
what did
my
each of you
Mega
guys
frames.
go ahead?
Oh no, actually, yeah, that's a perfect segue. Like, what did you bring to Berlin? I guess.
Yeah, what did each of you guys skate while you were there?
Uh, well,
Billy.
I'll go first. I brought these boots because I can skate in them for like however long, 10, 12 hours, whatever it is. And I actually brought both of these sets of frames. I brought the Arc ES and then the 90 Ultra. I had the 90 Ultras like when I got there because I knew that I was staying like 4 kilometers away from Tempelhof. So I wanted a nice way to get back and forth. And of course, I ended up like skating through a mile of gravel on the way to Tempelhof. So it was nice to have big wheels because I was like off road skating for a little while. Um, but yeah, I also wanted to see how they felt at the Feld on Tempelhofer, because and what I found was that with the wheels very new, it was like insane grip. I was like having to get used to it a little bit. And then for the second half of the event, I had the ARC ES frame for like the game of flat. I wanted, to just make it a little easier on myself. So yeah, that's what I had with me. It was cool. And then I injured myself in the game of flat, trying a 540
Oops.
for the first time on flat ground. And I didn't make it all the way around, but it was fine. It healed pretty quickly, and then I got to film a bunch of skaters. So I'll work on like a cool video from the event as well, because I was chasing everyone around with my fisheye camera. But yeah, Jhonatan, you started out on one setup and ended up on a different one, right?
Yeah, that was. And how's your hand, by the way?
Dude, it's good. Like it's still like getting stronger and everything, but it was crazy. It swelled up really quickly, and then 2 days later, it was like, "Oh, what are you talking about? We're good."
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, even important to mention that even with the injury, Billy made it till the final. But that was like then the final.
Nice.
final was like 2 days later, and I had enough
Uh-huh.
time to, for the adrenaline to wear off. Let's say if the final had been like right afterwards, I would have probably done it, right? Because I was like, oh, like that didn't feel good, but like I can move it, like let's keep going. So also I found out that they don't sell ibuprofen in just regular stores in Germany, so I had no pain medication
Oops.
until the next day. So it's just like, all right, drink some beer and go to
Suck
sleep.
it up.
Hope for the best. So it was fine. So it worked out.
Yeah.
And then I had a wrap on my wrist and was like, oh my God, Billy, what happened? So in any case, it was nice to have two setups. Last year I just brought one setup, and I felt a bit limited, like just with how big my skates were. So it's nice to have something compact.
Yeah. So for me, it was like ReTurn. I got vacations for all the week. So for me, ReTurn starts on Monday. Officially, ReTurns start on Thursday, but on Monday, I was skating already on Tempelhofer with some people. There were people from Czech Republic already there. Paolo was already there. Then we had a session on Monday. You were there, Bailey. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember anymore.
I showed up early.
And then Tuesday we had a ride, new moon ride. So normally I organize the full moon ride, but it's pretty chill. And the new moon ride was just like fast pace. That was pretty cool. And from the Monday to Friday, I skate on Wizard Base with Advanced 76, and was really nice. But on Friday, after 5 days of advanced skating, I was on carbon boot. I was really done. I wanted some chilling skating. So Friday night, I was interested into trying the Ultra 90s. So I talked with you, Brad, so a couple of months ago with Billy also. Like, I was interested. So, and then I was really lucky because that was the end of everything. We ride up, and then I went to eat something, and I met with Eric from DC Soul, and he had the frames with him, and I was just like, okay, just then give it to me. I will try them, and let's see. And I went to skate tomorrow a little bit chill, and then that was the Saturday, and I knew that I had to move a couple of times from my place to the skate park to Tempelhofer, again to the skate park, and then chill there. So I got for my CJs and put the Ultra 90s there, and that was the right decision for the weekend. Then I finished the ReTurn with them, so I skated Saturday, Sunday, and till now I'm skating with them. Just like try them. The wheels are already a little bit wear down, but having a lot of fun with them. That was the second setup. Yeah.
Nice.
So what was your first impression Do you have your setup nearby? Do you have your?
No, oh yeah,
I
like
got mine.
yeah.
I put this one together. This is what's on the thumbnail. This way.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like
This looks
if
so
you
So
red. Crazy.
they're they're
give me one
more.
minute.
You're gonna
Sure.
go get it.
I got it. I got them. Yeah. 1 second.
All right. Cool.
Nice.
Um, we can talk. I'm curious to
Yeah.
get his thoughts on. Well, both of your guys' thoughts on the whole frame testing part
Mm.
of the event, and find out, like if you got any feedback from people, what people were trying and what their thoughts were, or if most people were just like, happy to just skate whatever they brought with them.
I think most people were, well, okay, most out of 300 is not really accurate. So there was a substantial number of people that were trying stuff. And, I actually ended up not testing any other stuff because I tested a lot of the stuff that's there already.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like a lot of people wanted to try kind of what's an advanced setup feel like, or, yeah, I guess I'm curious. Maybe Jhonatan knows like how many people ended up trying frames, or if there's a way to, because I think people were like signing
Yeah.
them out or whatever. So in theory, it's like a known thing, but I don't know if we know it yet. But
I don't know exactly. So the information, we have the information, but I didn't see that. Yeah.
all good. Yeah, but generally, I think people have a fairly, let's say, sensible setup, and they want to try something eccentric or something like
Yeah.
really big, or
Like
whatever.
they come on 4x90 and they want to try like a
Advanced,
100,
yeah, type
an
like
advanced frame with hundreds and 80s or something like that.
exactly, or like
Yeah.
Yo-Yo has an option with like a lower,
Mhm.
second wheel and all this stuff. So they're trying all these things. And I also saw the one that I noticed the most. This is weird, but like Gab from France, Gabriel, he was trying the One Skates frames. He normally skates the Wizards, and it was crazy to see with how much power he has on it. And I think he was trying them in the 5x80. He was trying them in the 100/80, and I have some clips of him, and he was just on fire. Like to watch someone switch from their normal thing to something different, it just brings a little bit of energy into their skating, and they're like exploring like what's possible on a different frame. So that was cool to see people kind of mixing it up.
So it looks like.
So we have Mouse. Sorry, 1 second. The comment from Mouse. Mouse is the part of the organization. He's the guy in charge of the frames, and around 100 people try stuff. Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd be curious. Well, I mean, obviously selfishly for my own brand, I'm curious to know, like, so I sent over 90 Ultra UFS, 100 Ultra UFS, and then some arc frames, which are our 5-wheel frames. And yeah, I'd be curious to know how many people were able to try some of those. So yeah, so you've got your sweet setup. What size boot are you rocking there? Is that a size 42?
41.
Oh, okay. This is a 40. This is a 43, which I actually don't skate this anymore. I'm a 42 now.
It's a display model.
It's a display model. It's the original one. So the first time, so tell us about what was your first initial impression. So you get the frame installed. What wheels do you have on there, by the way? Are those endless wheels?
Yeah, the endless wheels there.
Is that your first time trying the endless wheels too?
No, I had the 90s millimeter, but the black one, like I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. That was my first frames. They were the 490s for 165. I I tried them first on my Twister, and I was just like, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Then at some point, I wanted to try UFS. Never skated UFS in my life, so I started skating more than 25 years ago, and I had always speed skates or free skates and always 165. But I wanted to try UFS, and yeah, then I got Wizards and CJs. But this, yeah, I always with this with my advance or 400s for from one skates, I always wanted to come back to the 490s, and a couple of times I used them also. But for commuting, I found them pretty cool. But at some point for my sessions, I didn't like anymore the free skate for wizard skating. I prefer UFS. So I was just like waiting for exactly that, just like 490s for
Hmm.
UFS. And then the first thing that I was surprised with was the stability, because I remember this feeling of 490s is just like, yeah, you feel that you can go exactly forward and back much easier, but you can also fall much easier. Actually, that was at the beginning. I was just like, oh, this pre is stable. That's okay. So it looks, you see the spaces in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Uh, and I was just like, okay, it's pretty stable. I was just skating on the street and I was trying to do some heel presses. And first, of course, it's not the same, but at some moment I was just like about to fall, but pretty easy to recover because also pretty stable and pretty light. That was just the two first things that I noticed. So, okay, this is new because it's the old feeling of 490s about the speed and the lightness, but they feel much more stable than the 490s, the classic ones.
And that's, I mean, that's largely due to the fact that, flip this way. You commented on the space between the wheels. These are brand new wheels, so the space is a little,
Mm.
you've got worn wheels on yours. So the wheelbase, on our classic endless 90 frame that we make for 165 is 276 millimeters from first to last axle. On this 90 Ultra UFS frame, it's 285 millimeters, which is a wheelbase that it's kind of a new thing. Like most people have never experienced a 285 millimeter frame before. And so it's going to be because that a little extra length is going to be a bit more stable than like your standard 4 by 90, which usually for most
Mm-hmm.
brands is somewhere between 273 and 276 millimeters. And so, when we chose this 485, I used to have this rollerblade skate called the Speed Machine, and it had a 4 by 90 frame that had a 285 millimeter wheelbase. And I love the stability of it. And just another thing you get from a longer wheelbase is you get more push because it's just a longer contact area. So as you're sweeping through your stride, it's just you just get you just get more of a push. Um, and so yeah, when we made the first prototype, we thought, hey, why don't we make a 4 by 90 setup that actually is better suited for a skater that has, say, a size 40 to 44 foot, which most most skaters. That's kind of like in the sweet spot of most people's foot size. Um, and so yeah, so the 285 is just something that's kind of um, it's a new experience for people. So so yeah, so you were saying the first thing you noticed it was light. Obviously, I always try and optimize weight. Our frames generally are 70 to 100 grams lighter, for than other frames on the market, while at the same time not compromising any stiffness. Um, what did you notice about speed and responsiveness?
Yeah, yeah. That actually is really cool. That first of all, the acceleration is much faster. So it's much faster than with 100. For example, with 400s, it feels like sometimes like a fixie. Like I was talking with
You
the
gotta get
mouse
it.
is saying that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need effort to accelerate, no? And that's the thing. So first of all, the acceleration with 490s is much easier. But the thing is like when you go through the carving, it feels like they really bounce, and then you can just like keep momentum so easily. That's something that I'm enjoying a lot when I'm just like skating on the street or even in Tempelhofer at some point. Yesterday, for example, I had a really nice session. I was just like at the end after 4 hours of skating and teaching, pretty tired, but sunset was amazing. I wanted to keep skating. And at some point I was just skating backwards but with the skates all the time on the ground and just like bouncing lightly side to side. And it's just like they keep going. So as you mentioned also, like I feel that this longer wheelbase allows to give you extra push. Like you really need to bend your knees a little bit, push into the carve, and just go pretty swell.
Yeah, with a 4x90, like a typical, I have the shorter ones on the 165 ones, and it feels very like sprinty. Like I can like run and do like crossovers and stuff, but then I don't have that high speed glide. Doesn't feel as stable as like the 4x100. And then this Ultra 90, for me, like it combines. It's like in bikes, there's like a 26-inch and a 29er, and then there's just like the 27.5. Maybe this is more for Jhonatan, but it's like it's not a different wheel size, but it is a different wheelbase. And yeah, like my sessions recently, when I'm on the adapts especially, there's this feeling of like I'm on ice, like from the standpoint of when you're on ice and you have a sharp blade, you get into an edge and you like lock into that edge and you can hold it for a long time. And I think it's because the wheels are spaced apart that they don't want to swivel as much. They're just willing to kind of hold on to the pavement and like carry through. Like that's what I've been feeling, is I get all of the carve. It doesn't like start to slip and swivel like as quickly. I don't know if that makes sense. It's kind of subtle, but yeah, that sort of like follow through that you were mentioning, that made sense a lot to me.
Yeah, I think that's because of the longer pivot spacing. You know, it has like if you think about like the pacing or the tempo that a 4x100 frame kind of requires for doing like wizard movements.
It's all stretched out.
Yeah, it's like if you go and you try and do those same trick, like let's say you're a size 43 skater or 42 skater even, and you go from 4x100 to 4x90, all of a sudden the 4x90 is like it's too twitchy. And because that pivot spacing gets a lot more compact and it has a much faster tempo. Whereas I feel like the tempo of this frame with its 285 millimeter wheelbase is a little more like in line with what you get on 4x100. It's like it's not as, I don't know if snappy is the right word, but it's not as twitchy.
I'm curious, Jhonatan, if you had the same experience as me with when I first got on the frame and I was at like a nice flat area trying to do swivels. In my head, I was skating a 4x90. So I was like, oh, this is going to be like, like snappy and whipping it around and everything. And the frame was like, no. Like you need to kind of give this thing a little bit more. I had to give more space for the movements, because if I tried to like snap it around, it was like feeling like it was sticking to the ground a little bit for me, kind of more like how a 4x100 feels, where it's like you have to have more speed in order to do the movements. Did you feel that, or was it pretty quick adaptation for you?
That was just like, that was with 490s when I try. Sometimes I push too much, and then with the normal 490s, so I sometimes I just like snap, and then I just like my toes go up or my heels go up. But with them, that's the first feeling. I was just like exactly like I go into the lion or gazelle, and then it's just like it's not the same radius, of course, of advance, but I have a proper long radius, and the things like so when I go into, I feel that I have the time and the stability to go to the other side pretty easy. So I don't have that feeling that you mean exactly. Like it's not snappy, not so fast. But when they do the transition, that feels pretty stable and pretty like I can lean into the skate.
Yeah.
I really like that feeling.
I noticed the first time I skated them, I was cruising down a stretch of road that's like really nice pavement at Stanford University. And it's like a very, very slight incline. Like you wouldn't even think it's downhill, but you notice it when you go the other way. And, I was probably, I don't know, maybe going like 10 miles an hour. I was going pretty like a good cruising speed, not super fast, but not, it wasn't slow. And I remember I was skating on one foot and just like carving on these deep edges on one foot. And I had never up till that point felt so locked in, unstable at that speed on a single edge, on one foot
Mhm.
on an edge. And I just remember like, oh yeah, this is what control feels like.
And trust.
And trust. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt that on the 100s before I had tried the 90s. I was at the end of a group skate, and it was coming down like a big hill, quite steep and perfectly smooth. And I remember doing alternating crossovers, right? You're just kind of riding your outside edge
Yeah.
and switching to
Yeah.
your other outside edge at like top speed, just complete trust in the setup. I was like screaming at the top of my lungs, like, this is amazing. Like, just because with most other skates, there's a little bit of like distrust. There's a little bit of like, oh, I don't know if it's going to hold all the way through this carve.
Because
And the
it's
90s
flexing and your
have
body
that.
is sensing that.
And it's like, yeah, because as soon as it flexes and you lose one of those wheels, stops making contact. And this is actually like something that I was chatting with Nicola about. Uh, when a rockered skate is tilted on its edge, all the wheels will touch at some point.
Yeah.
Right? When they're vertical, or when it's on a center edge, it rocks back and forth like this. Then when you put it on its edge, it forms like a radius, like we talked about, like a
Yep.
parabolic
An arc.
edge, like an arc,
Yeah.
like a ski. And skis and snowboards have different radius, different side cut amount, basically. So when you tilt it, it will make a smaller or a larger circle. So the faster you want to go, you have less side cut, so a larger radius. Like the circle that you would draw with that alpine ski is a very big circle. And then with like a freestyle ski, it's a much smaller circle because you want more agility.
Yeah.
So same is true with skates, where like a 4x90 is going to draw a smaller circle when you tilt it on its edge. 4x100, 4x110 is the craziest because it's like
Yeah.
an alpine ski basically, which means different things. So anyway, I think about that, and this radius, or whatever you would call it, of the curvature that you would make feels closer to 4x100 than 4x90 to me.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it's somewhere in between, right? It feels more like, well, not gesturing at anything in particular, but it feels more like 4x100 to me.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
terms of
totally. The
stability.
stability. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it's purely a function of the rocker and the wheelbase.
Mm-hmm.
So like, any combination of rocker and wheelbase will give you a will give you a radius of a circle. Like when you're on, at whatever angle of attack you're on.
Yeah.
Where you get all four wheels to touch. And then, if
And
you
flat frame,
like you were saying, if you just put the skate on the ground, it'll want to make a turn.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's a funny thing too, because obviously flat setups, like a speed skater is still carving as they're skating on a flat 4x110. So there's some other factor in terms of like wheel
Squish.
smush, where it
Yeah.
creates a rocker basically. So and that's a variable rocker, right? Depending, especially if you have like dual durometer wheels, like speed skater, where they smush more. So yeah, anyway, it's something I think about, and that's why I think 5-wheel frames are cool, because that side cut radius is like more variable in my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's variable if the frame's not designed right.
it could be variable, or I guess in theory it would have there should be a predictable radius that exists for every frame. Unless, like you said, like if you have mismatched wheel profiles or something,
Yeah.
it can like tip and like change as you're moving. But it does affect like and I'm like on a tangent here, so we can get off it. But with like an advanced type frame where there's bigger wheels on the ends and smaller wheels in the middle, that radius is kind of different. If you're pressing on the front or the back, it's like a longer radius or like a bigger radius. But if you're in the middle, it's a 3x80 or whatever, 3x76. So it's like this tighter radius. So you have to kind of learn to skate those types of frames where if you want to do quick swivels, you have to push your weight in the middle. And if you want to do like big, long, protracted carves where you're like, then you're on the tips. You're right. You're on the ends. So, and I think it's a cool tool in that way. But that's a reason why it wouldn't be a good frame for your first frame. But
so speaking of first frames, David had he had a great question. So what do we think would happen if somebody tried the 90 Ultra on their first skate? And this is something I think about. Maybe Billy, you and I probably talked about this. Would people be able to appreciate it, or is it something you gotta work up to? So I'd love to get both your thoughts, and then I'll tell you mine. Billy,
I would say
this
is
Jhonatan, go ahead.
Pretty nice. This is a pretty nice entrance setup. Also, as a 490s, I find this just like all rounder. Also, it's pretty funny on the street, pretty light, and it's still 4 wheels. Oh, I'm out.
No, you're good.
Hello.
I think you're
solo.
Okay. And
you're on the
solo.
spot.
Okay. But I think that's so really good to start. Is still 4 wheels, so you have 2 pivot points basically, and you have the speed, you have the rocking. So there's no reason why I wouldn't say like, yeah, no, this is not like for starting with. I totally recommend for starting. Also, 5 wheels, as Billy mentioned also, they need more. They're tricky. You need to know where you are, no? And you have more pivot points. It's different if you're in the middle, back, forth. But here, there's not so much space to do something wrong. They're really fun. If you want to go into wizardy tricks, they're great. And even so, if some people are just like skating free skates, slides, just like skating on the street, they're really fun. Yeah.
What do you think, Billy?
I'm excited I get to respond to Dave because we chat all the time. So and he's been trying to figure out what's the right combination of setups with a 5-wheel and a 4-wheel and all this kind of stuff. I think that it's a good all-around frame. For me personally, it's super nice to do like long distance skating on it, or like what I call long distance skating, 20 plus miles in a night. So for somebody who's new to skating, who wants something that is versatile, I think it's good for that. If you jump right into like a 5-wheel frame, a couple things could happen. You can develop bad habits by relying on the rocker a little more than relying on the edges for like swivel tricks. But also a 5-wheel frame is not as versatile. So I think when it comes to 4-wheel frames, there's only a few options for UFS. Well, there's quite a few options for UFS 4x90. But as a newer skater who needs potentially a little bit of help from like the stability of a 5-wheel frame, this brings a little bit of that. Like you get the extra length of the frame, and I think that would benefit a beginner. The downside, of course, is that the rockering or like the tempo of the frame, like the way that it swivels, is a little bit slower of a tempo. So if you're hoping for, I'm going to be a beginner, I'm going to hop on and I'm going to just do crazy swivels, you have to have a little bit more patience, I think, if you jump right to the Ultra 90. But I think the benefits outweigh that cost of like, there's a startup cost to getting on a frame that's leans a little more towards the stability side and less towards the like maximum swivel side of the spectrum, right? Because if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my take is, I think what makes these ultra frames special is they're they're incredibly stiff. I mean, that's really the, from a technical perspective, that's like the primary feature is that they're incredibly rigid and stiff. And so what that gets you is you get a much faster skate. I think a lot of people don't realize that speed doesn't just come from good wheels and good bearings. The frame contributes a lot to the speed. And so if you have a frame that's not very rigid, it's it's going to be deflecting every stride. There's going to be like a lag. When you're going to get losses in power transfer as you're pushing. Um, and so it means you're going to be more fatigued. You're not going to carry your momentum as much. It's also like the frame is going to deflect in a way that puts a torsional load into the bearings through the axle, and that slows down the bearings. Um, so yeah, so that stiffness means a lot of speed. It means a very instantaneous response. Like we talk about no lag, meaning, and like this confidence and trust. Every time you go on an edge, you transition an edge, you're at speed, you're doing something, you're carving. It's like you're feeling that feedback from the road instantaneously. There's no deflection. And then, when you have a dynamic system, um, think about if you take like a ruler and put it on your table and you bend it down, it goes boing, right? And it
Mhm.
bounces until it returns to steady state. That's what your frames do, right? And so a frame that's really rigid just goes, it deflects a little bit and then just returns. So there's not like this as much of the spring damper type of system effect
Mhm.
going on. Um, and so I think because it's so instantaneously responsive, it yields a lot of confidence. And so I think if this is somebody's first skate, I think what they would notice is they just feel like they can trust their setup, and they will probably feel like a lot of confidence, as especially as a if they're a beginner skater especially, but they'll probably just feel like, oh, I want my body to do this, and the skate just did it. And so, to your question, Dave, about will you be able to appreciate it? I think if somebody put a 90 Ultra frame on their very first skate, I'm not sure they would know what they had until they went and tried something else and then realized that the other setup was harder to skate and wasn't as satisfying and confidence inspiring. Uh, the easy thing you would notice would be it won't be as fast. It'll feel mushy. Um, you'll just feel more fatigued. So it's good to come to have some reference point, but just know that if you and Billy, maybe both you guys can back this up or give me your thoughts on this. I feel like anything I skate that is not the 90 Ultra or 100 Ultra feels like a downgrade to me at this point. What are your thoughts on that?
I
From a
would, Billy.
from a direct comparison perspective, I
In,
don't
in
have
terms of the attributes I was talking about, speed,
sure.
confidence, responsiveness,
Well, I'll just say
power
that
transfer.
there's if you're familiar with Strava, it's like a app that you record your bike rides or
Mm.
skating with. There's a segment right by my house here that I've skated over 100 times, and I've skated it on 4x110. I've skated it chill. I've skated it fast as I can, and the other day I was on this setup, adapt with the 4x90, and I got my fastest time, and I got second place overall all time. And these are like the people that are on the Strava leaderboard are speed skaters, right? Like spandex,
4x110 carbon boots.
cuffless carbon, the whole
Yeah.
thing. And granted, like this is not that far off of that, but the wheels are smaller anyway. And I also remember like I'm still breaking these boots in, so I wasn't like, you know, giving it everything I had, but I just had good form and a little bit of wind at my back, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, like there, yeah. So I guess that's some empirical proof, let's say, of the speed element. I haven't skated a different 4x90 in a long time, and I haven't skated a 4x100 that's not the Ultra in a long time. So, but that being said, like when I first got on them, I was like, oh, this is a different like feeling entirely of just a solid chunk of metal on my foot instead of like the classic shape of a frame is like this. This was like a box, if that could, because there's like the bridges and everything. It just felt like it was just there was no deflection. Whereas normally I have a little bit of like stride and like snap, you know, kind of like you get a little snap out of the frame. This was just like, you don't have like, oftentimes I feel like I have to inflect my boot to kind of like combat and leverage the snap of a frame. Whereas with this one, I can just plant it the right way and lean on the edge. And I don't know if this makes sense, but you know how you kind of flick your skate at the edges of your stride a little bit? You kind of get a little like, boom,
Yeah.
boom, doop. Like this one is just like, hurrah, hurrah. Like it's a different feeling in my body. I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but it's like, you know, instead of that kind of like running like bump it a bump, it's just churn. There's just consistent power instead of this like the edges of the stride having a bit of loss to them. That doesn't feel like I have like loss at the edges of the stride. So sorry, that was a bit like off in left field, but that's how
it's hard. No, it's really hard to communicate it because until you've had the reference point of skating this frame, it's hard to conceive that what you might have is really lacking in any way, right?
Yeah.
Like let's say you own 2 or 3 different frames, you probably know which one feels the best to you or feels the most fun to skate or maybe feels the fastest. But this one will be faster. And it's like you won't know that that's possible until you try it, I guess. Does that make sense to you guys?
So you
Would you
mean
agree with that? Like, did you know that a frame could be as fast as the 90 Ultra before you tried it?
in 490s? No. No, that was the other 490s that I tried. That was not the same feeling. Just because of the stability, the length of the stride is not the same with 490s that they are shorter or the regular ones. So that's totally different. And even as sometimes, so I'm skating with them a lot of times. Not so for me right now now I'm enjoying them a lot on the street. So like for commuting, just like Billy also mentioned, to have some rides. Also for sessions, for teaching. For teaching is are really nice because they are comfortable. And sometimes I'm just like, I notice that I'm skating and I'm not striding. I'm just carving. You know, I just like go for streets and streets, and I don't zipper the wheels off of they still all the time 8 wheels on the ground, so with the rock ring of course, but I'm just like still carving and feel just like pre-responsive. Exactly. So basically what I feel because of what you mentioned, Brad, about the stiffness, that I feel that so when I really go into the edge and then I go to the carver point, I just need to bounce a little bit to just push into the wheels, and I really feel this bounce coming from the wheels, going through the frames, which are really stiff, and then just pushing me forward. That's something that I'm really enjoying right now with them. So
yeah, I feel like Billy and I have talked about this, is that I feel like the Ultra frames really they will reveal any weaknesses in your setup. So like if your boot is not sufficiently supportive, or if your wheels are not that high quality, like you'll really feel how crappy and mediocre your wheels are. But I think if you use like kind of what you're saying, it's like if you're using a high quality wheel, it kind of accentuates, it lets you really experience
Hmm.
the full potential of the wheel.
Yeah, like it isolates like the behavior of the wheel, perhaps. Like there's
Yeah.
less of a
Yeah.
you don't really feel the frame. It's actually hard to know if you're experiencing frame flex or wheel flex
Yeah.
in a typical setup, I think. For me, the I never felt like the Seba was um, like soft or anything. And then I put the Ultra 100 on it, and I was like, oh, okay. There's some smush here in the boot, you know, because like the frame was no longer uh, like part of that flex system. Like the frame
Hmm.
became like this rigid entity in the system of the skate. And so now all of a sudden I have like, you have like flex variable, and flex variable. Now it's like you have a constant in the formula, is at least how it feels to me.
Yeah.
And it shows like, oh, okay, like my boot can actually flex pretty far off to the side, or I can hear my wheels getting destroyed as
Yeah.
I stride, because I'm just, you know, it,
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, there's not this give like in the system. And I think that for someone who wants like that maximum performance, right, having an aspect of your setup that just has like no flex at all, um, can be super powerful. I also think there's another perspective, one of my friends Aaron has mentioned, which is that having some, let's say, give in the system makes it a little bit easier on your body, first of all, and also allows the system to work together more, maybe, as opposed to having these isolated elements where like this part's stiff, this part's not, or whatever, right? Like I guess ideally it's all just like super stiff, and that's when you get into this kind of thing. and and this is a pretty intense thing to skate on, right? I mean, this is full carbon, not even articulating cuff. There's nothing that's going to like give in this system. And I'm having to like learn how to skate this differently, because if I try to do the same stuff that I do in the Seba, where I am right really flexing the boot to make it do the movements, like this one will punish me for doing that, right? It will like,
Yeah.
it's carbon, it will like dig into my body. So yeah, it's been interesting to see how it affects the skating, because one of the things you mentioned was not striding, but rather like carving only, or pumping. And
Yeah.
I forget who, it might have been a quote from Leon, something about like in theory, any set of combination of tricks you do, you should exit with the same speed or greater than what you started with. And when you think about was like skating as it is right now, like flatland skating, most people swivel, 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 and kind of come to a stop, right? There's this general like you do a combo and then you're done. And I personally am like trying to pursue the opposite of that, which is like perpetual wizard movement, or whatever you want to call it, inspired by like Brock. I feel like I this is like a dead horse that I'm beating at this point, but like um, with that setup, and there's so little loss of energy, like I can kind of skate forever, is what it feels like, in terms of without striding, without pushing, I can continue to like swivel and build energy, and lean in, create some potential, pump the carve like you said, and not really have to like do that thing like on 490 where you're kind of sprinting a lot, like you have
Yeah.
to kind of like you have to run a little bit. With these I
It,
don't I
Yeah.
don't feel that, so that's my
it carries momentum extremely well.
yeah.
I think there's this myth that like mass carries momentum. I mean, technically it does to some extent, but not when you have to like your muscles have to work harder to move the mass, right? To accelerate you.
Well, and the
But
mass
yeah,
has to come back to center and out and back to center and out. Like
yeah,
it's
right,
not just continually like spiraling out. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. You can't just like swing your leg like a pendulum and get yourself to cruise down a block. Um, and so yeah, I've found that the skates carry the frames carry the momentum extremely well. My friends have noticed the last couple of times I've been skating with them. Um, like I skate with two guys that work out pretty regularly. Besides skating, they do like a lot of physical activity and they go to the gym and they're like way more, muscular than me. And my health has been pretty poor the last year. I've had long COVID, which I think I might have mentioned previous live stream. And so like my energy levels to skate have been pretty low. But the last couple times since I've been on the ultra, mainly the 100 ultra, my friends are struggling to keep up with me. And I'm like expending, or it looks like I'm expending the same level of energy as they are, but I just have like a much higher performance system than they're rocking. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's been interesting. Leon was asking a question here. I'll pop this one on the screen. Just wondering about the forward tilt and the heel raise. And so yeah, so let me grab
And
this
there
the
was
90. This is
two
the 90.
questions there. There was
Yeah,
about this one and then also about how it compares to like the PR frames, if you know.
yeah, I'll throw that one up next. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can see here if we look at this, this feature here, we put that as our horizontal. You can see that the back of the frame is tilted up. We'd have a slant tilted mounting interface. And I'll just give a little context why we have that. It's not to copy anybody. It's because these frames are specifically designed to go on this boot, which is a flat bottom boot, and the boot has no internal heel raise unless you put in an insole or a heel pad. And so, in order to have like an ergonomic skating posture, you want some heel raise. And so, adding some tilt to the frame gives you that heel raise. And so, when I was designing these frames, um, the first tilted frame I did was the arc frame. And what I did is I was skating an FR1 on a 165 frame a lot. And what I have in my FR1 is I had an Intuition liner with a Superfeet carbon insole under the liner, no shock absorber. So that was like my stack. And obviously an FR1 is a raised heel boot. So I took the frame off that boot, put my foot in it, stood on the ground, and kind of like, said, okay, what does it feel like in terms of heel raise? And then what I did is I put my Stubba SX2 boot on the other foot, stood on the ground, and I felt like my heel was falling through the floor. So I proceeded to take plastic business cards and stack them up underneath that heel until my 2 feet felt the same. And then I measured that stack, converted it to an angle, and that was what got put into the design of the 5-wheel arc frames and then ultimately the 90 and 100 Ultra. So to answer the question, is it the same or greater as the Wizard NR90? I cannot tell you. I do not know. I believe it may be a little more. So I think it's definitely a little more than the Wizard NR100. So if the NR90 is the same as the NR100, then I would say it's a little more. Um, and so when I was figuring out that angle, I tested it both with and without like an Intuition shock absorber heel pad, and just made sure that it felt good depending on what people were going to stick inside their boot for insoles. Um, but it puts you, I think, to me, it feels like a really natural skating posture that just like you don't feel like you're falling back on your heels, but you don't feel too much on the ball of your foot. Do you guys have, yeah, what do you guys feel as far as the hill race goes? Do you feel it's in a sweet spot?
Oh yeah, we were chatting about that before you hopped on a little bit.
Yeah.
like the right way to do heel raise also? Like, yeah, Jonathan, can you talk a little bit about the heel raise you got from Jakob?
I can show you also. Also,
Sure.
Jakob is one of one of our friends here in the community in Berlin. Really passionate skater. He's also
One of the best.
he's printing. He's one of the best. He's
Yeah.
printing a lot of things in 3D for us. Also, like for ReTurn, he print this kind of.
What? Did he make
Yeah.
the lace things too?
The laces thing. I don't have it. Do you have it there, Billy?
Oh yeah, I'm off video right now, but I can show it.
Go ahead. You want to show
This thing,
something?
this little lace lock, or not lace lock, but lace bedazzler. Let's say this is cool. But yeah,
So
whoa,
these ones are the third version of this kind of heel racers from Jakob. Dry D printed, free elastic, really comfortable. If you notice, it's coming up, but lightly, so progressive. And here's about 7 millimeters. And yeah, I had the problem with my Superfeed carbon that my arc when pre up was pretty cool, but then my heel was like going front and back. So with the extra heel, that was just like everything in the right place. That was amazing. And then yes, having this like this in the intuition, I have no shock absorber, but just let's having this extra heel racer here. I feel like also like this kind of heel presses feel really comfortable and that really so I can lean there. That's in the difference, a huge difference with the 490s and the classic ones. This is press tricks, they were pretty hard, so it was just like falling all the time. So they're really precise. You need to be so really strict. Yeah, so that about, but that's it was really important. These heel racers were a game changer.
That's cool.
and what I like about that, and this is coming from, like in the Sebas, I have the Intuition shock absorber, which is very soft, and over time, obviously, it gets compressed. Even, you can feel it, like when you're stepping in the skate. You can move within the skate because the shock absorber is compressing like very, very easily. So then in the adapts, they're very hard heel raise, like it's barely even rubber, I feel like, and it's super firm for that reason. So like, anyway, I ended up noticing I was pushing through my heels more and sitting with my torso more upright, and using my hamstrings. My hamstrings were getting more sore. So all of this came from just having, I mean, it wasn't necessarily the frame that was tilted. I think the frame should have some tilt. And then what I like about what you have there, Jhonatan, is it's not like a huge heel raiser. It's kind of working with the frame. Like the heel raiser has knowledge of that there is a tilted frame as well. So because if you double up and you get too much, then you're just riding on it hurts the balls of your feet, in my opinion. Like that's what ends up bearing the load, and also we end up leaning our torso more forward, and it wears out the front wheels more. So I think I'm going to experiment also with there's a stock Seba heel raiser that comes with some of the boots that it also like is very progressive, like you said. It goes really thin at the front, and then it's just a hard rubber. It's like going to be heavy, but it'll be firm instead of sort of squishy. So I'll have to, won't be able to stomp my tricks as hard, but that's probably for the best anyway. Because yeah, I think that a soft heel riser does something similar to what really squishy running shoes do. So if you've ever had like a barefoot shoe compared to like a Hoka 1-1, like super foam shoe, our bodies heel strike when we run because they're trying to find feedback from the ground. And so the thicker your shoes are, or the puffier your shoes are, this is like from the barefoot running ethos, the more you'll heel strike. And if you run barefoot or in like a minimal shoe, you certainly won't heel strike. You're getting enough feedback already. So I think by having like a soft heel rise, there's a tendency to like stomp tricks harder because you're kind of like looking for that feedback from the earth. And so my theory is that if I have hard shock absorbers or barely any shock absorbers, but just heel risers instead, it will breed a more like soft kind of landing. So, or I'll just shock my heels, one of the two. So
Yeah.
There's this feeling, for example, when you have new intuitions and with the intuition shock absorber, and then you feel like you sink into the skate. It's just like,
it's like smushy. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think I actually want that. Like, I think it would be really cool if intuition offered multiple durometers. Let's say like a 20A is what it is now, maybe, and then like you could get like a 80A or 85A. You know, like
I think they're just using their foam that they use for the liner just to make the pads.
Yeah, it looks like it's like a extra like
Yeah.
off cast bit of material, but
I
understand why it's soft, but yeah.
I have that similar stack up that you do, Jonathan, that no intuition heel pad. Actually I don't even know if I have a super feet in mine anymore. I don't think
Are you
I
going
might just have like liner directly, no heel pad in shell for like the most feel. I'd have to look. It's been a while since I've taken those liners out of my skate with the 100 Ultra on them, but I'm pretty sure I have nothing.
Oh, the arch of my foot would just like collapse, I feel like, if I didn't have an insole. Like I'm putting more and more padding underneath the arch of my foot on the adapts to like change the angles of my ankles, like, and all that kind of stuff. It's been interesting. I feel like I'm about ready to get a custom insole for that, but that's a whole other topic. So
what else? So what else should people know?
I have a question
about these
because I want to talk about the ReTurn a little more, but from the context of like what people were skating. Because we talked a little bit about like renting frame or demoing frames and stuff like that, but in terms of like reflections on ReTurn, I would say that like it was interesting to see. Of course, every type of frame was represented, but it kind of felt like there was more space for 4-wheel frames this year and for like a standard 5-wheel. And sure, there was some people on like a mixed 100/80 advanced type frame, but I distinctly made the decision not to bring that style because I thought it's flat ground. Like I'm not going to do press tricks on flat ground because it's like an obstacle trick. That's like a trick that I do on a manual pad when I know that I've started and stopped the press for this. My point is I saw a lot more setups. Like there's some folks who were on 4x100 that like live and die by that. Like Lubo is like only 4x100. And then people who I see on advanced types frames were on like PRs, for example. So yeah, any thoughts on that, Jhonatan? Did you notice any trends, or was it just kind of a blur? Like there's just a bunch of types of stuff.
I noticed more 4 wheels for sure. It was just like a.
Was it 4x100, 4x90? What?
In general, so 4 wheels for 490s, 4x100. I saw also one or two people with 4x110.
Yeah, just the dedicated ones. But they were like
the huge ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was like Raf, I think, was on 4x100. Raf from France, and then I saw a few others like Martin is always on 490 from Berlin. But yeah, I guess I mostly just noticed it was a little more flow skatey and a little less like fiddly, like small technique movements. Like it was more, people were taking up more space, and it was good. I was happy about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but just.
I feel that actually that was really cool this year that the exploration was much bigger. I mean, that was just like, for example, Paulo Soler coming and the style of Jovina, also from Spain. They're bringing also this slides and figure skating posture and the technique. Also, Calista, for example. And
Mhm.
I felt that in general, people were more open to try new things and new styles, and just like your cap, also pop cap. It's just like
Upcap.
a
I even put my tagline as movement
Yeah.
researcher. But yeah, we're going beyond like, can you demonstrate the moves in sequence? And more like, right, it's less about like, oh, gazelle to lion to gazelle to lion. Like, it's more like, okay, a lot of us can do the foundational movements. Now, what if I put my leg on this side? Or what if I put it around the back?
yeah,
Or what if I add a
yeah,
little slide moment, in between the lions or whatever. So
yes, totally.
it was getting more like we were looking at it like from here, and then this time we were like zooming in a little bit and seeing what's
Do,
possible to like, add a little more little spice
do
and
you,
stuff.
would you say that it's gone from people can speak a few words to people are speaking in phrases now?
I think we were speaking in phrases last year where it's
Yeah,
like,
Okay.
because the words are the moves, let's say, and this is,
Yeah.
I hope Dandelion's still on here because this is like terminology that he's been using. Is part of his lexicon, let's say. But
Yeah.
this was more like different accents on
Mm.
speaking a word, right? It's like you can say dog. Okay, this is a bad example, but then you can say like
Potato.
potato. That's perfect. I was like, dog is like too simple of a word, but like, yeah. And some people are like potato, and some people say potato. And like, where are you
Yeah.
putting the emphasis in your movement? Are
yeah,
you drawing out the first part and then doing a tight swivel? Or are you doing a swivel slide and like filtering it out? So, like you said, yeah, Pablo Soler being there definitely upped the tempo in terms of like cool slides and like really kind of like powerful like skating positions, I guess I would say. And then
yeah,
yeah, Jovina definitely brought more of the like a very composed, almost like
yeah,
methodical way of skating, which is like anyone doing the game of flat would do like this like flurry of movement, and Jovina would just be like, okay, first part, second part, third part, done. And it
yeah.
was just like,
So clean.
oh, how
Yes,
did you? I can't like. She was
yeah,
able to separate the movements and speak each word very succinct. See, I can't even do it. She
Did she
spoke
have a
each word in the combination very succinctly,
did
as
she have
opposed
an
to like
aggressive skating background or no?
no artistic
no, she
skating
has
on quads.
artistic. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I
So like
feel like
snapping.
anybody that doesn't come from an aggressive skating background introduces a completely different stylistic element into it. And what I think it was all of wizard skating, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my perspective, it seemed like wizard skating evolved out of aggressive skating. And now we're seeing
Mhm.
other influences come into it. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just like, yeah, it's like skaters like as Martin Schiffer or Lubo who are coming from aggressive skating. At some point, Martin was saying like, yeah, um, those artsy tricks are getting me out of the game because I'm really bad on it. And yes, of course they're coming from this grinding, they're coming from this jumping and so on. And then when they come to this triple 360 on one leg, and then the last one on the other leg, it's just like, okay, that's pretty technical. It's everything has to be on the right place. Also, that's
Hips and
great. Also,
shoulders need to be aligned, right?
Mhm.
exactly, your head has to be like up and
You have
so
to
on and so on.
isolate. Yeah.
It's great, but it's also great to see like exactly like all the styles kind of converge, and then you just like you see how the style of this aggressive skaters, let's say, which I recognize more now, like we are contemporary skaters, uh, is changing. still. It's evolving because of this exchange. That you see all these people exchanging ideas and playing with each other. Then through the game of flat, you can explore your own experience and your own skating, and then push farther. Not so much, not so farther as Billy, and then get injured, but push a little bit. And then also, like, it's a comment there from the Game of Flat. It's like it's online, so in YouTube you can find also like the work of Juliana Metzka. She's part of the organization, doing a lot, and he did the video of the Game of Flat. And I think that's I was like seeing it back, and it's just like a library, it's like a piece of amazing skating from amazing skaters. And yeah, so pre-recommend to see the Game of Flat. There's the semifinals and the finals. Both are good, but the finals are gold pure. It's really good. Just like
it's all
seeing and
improvised
trying
too.
to do it.
It's all just in the moment. It's pretty like super impressive to see. I really wish I got to do the finals, but then as soon as the second trick, I think, was Danny Aldridge doing like a 2 or 3 meter long parallel slide, and I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't try to play that game. I would have just slammed my wrist again.
Did you guys did you guys notice any movement trends this year? Is there things that you're noticing are like kind of like, I don't know what's the right word, infiltrating the common
the collective
lexicon of tricks?
Yeah. Well, I would like to take some credit for lion hop tricks, like doing a lion and then jump spin out of that, because I was really focused on this for the better part of the last like year or two, seeing figure skaters, seeing that they can do, a quadruple axel, and being like, we could just do one, right? Like, what if we just figured out how to do one? We don't have the same edge grip as ice, but we have a lot of edge grip. And so doing a swivel and then jumping and switching to your other foot and then swiveling back the other way, or something like this. It seemed like that was fairly common. The other one was landing and jumping and landing in cross position. So that was really popular. And I think it just increases the complexity. It makes it from a straight 360 to a cross 360 is like, okay, a little bit harder. It wasn't really like a wizard trick as much. It was more like, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't have a swivel necessarily, like always. It was more about be rolling straight and then jump and land again. So that's a little more aggressive in that way. But yeah, I was talking with Lubomir about the game of flat, and he was saying, like, I don't know, like the competitive aspect, I'm not sure that I love it, but I would always join regardless. Like, he and I were on the same page. Like, we're not necessarily trying to win or be competitive, but we want to push ourselves and like put ourselves in the uncomfortable position of having to try a trick that we've never tried. And I was suggesting, just file this one away, Jhonatan. But like, another type of competition would be, imagine like a dance battle where it's 1v1 and it's just based on impression, basically like who gets the most applause. And you would have 30 seconds, let's say, and it would, instead of prioritizing someone who is very technical and can repeat like these 3 movements in a row, it would be a chance to showcase. You could either improvise or you could rehearse like a routine, basically like a flow skating routine. And it would, by having that type of competition, it would kind of endorse the flow skater style that's a little bit more like a figure skater or someone who's a dancer who can have more arm impressions and things like this. Because the game of flat is basically your skates have to do a certain thing. But then this flow competition, I'm thinking of like Flatland BMX, if you're familiar. They do like a head-to-head breakdancing style, or like almost like a rap battle. Obviously, that would take a lot of time, but I think it would, at least in terms of like there's a lot of skaters. I'll just say like it would increase like potentially the gender equality of the competition, just because I feel like there are a lot of male skaters are very focused on the technicality of what their skates are doing, and there's a lot of amplitude and power. And then when you get into more artistic style skating and, you know, kind of having flow and making beautiful shapes with your arms and your body, like that's not what a lot of male skaters focus on. But so just to bring up a,
Yeah,
you know,
they don't
a
focus on
maybe
it
touchy
yet.
topic yet. And so like, this is something I'm trying to introduce and trying to learn from people like Brock or from Pietro. Pietro has a different way of thinking of it. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
about dance. He's more like, what does your whole body need to do to arrange itself to make the most efficient movement, let's say. So anyway, so I'm putting that in there as like, there could be like a ReTurn like triathlon, like, you know, who's the Triple Crown winner of like the game of flat, some sort of skateboard competition, and like a flow skating, and the most well-rounded skater would win everything or something. But you could have, it would allow space for like this different kind of performance. I don't know what you think of that, but I'm certainly like going that direction at the moment, and just be like, can you make a competition for that style too? I'm sure it couldn't be
Let's
that
see.
hard, right? But it would move us away from like essentially 3 tricks on a P rail, like a practice rail, to a true flat, you know, like an ice rink type thing. I don't. Does that make sense? Like that aggressive skating mindset of like,
Yeah,
our game of flat was basically like switch ups,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
In a way, right? It's like do a soul grind to a unity to a,
yeah,
you know, whatever, right? It's a little more like, aggressive skating mindset. So anyway, thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
so like also like in Winter Clash, you have also like the heats, and then the skaters are just skating and
Open.
doing whatever they want. It's open, and then the judges are looking, public, of course, are looking
Crazy.
and cheering up. Yeah, but yeah, that could be also interesting. Let's
Scores
see.
are rough. Like having numbers associated with it is not ideal. That's why it seems harder and harder to judge the game of flat. Like, did they do the trick? Sure. Did they do it well enough? I don't know. You know, there's like a little more subjectivity in that. But anyway, what's cool about the game of flat is that it's basically what we're doing the whole time anyway. Sharing tricks with each other and seeing if we can explain it to someone where they can do it too.
Yeah.
And so it turns that into a little bit of competition. It makes it more formal, but it's a mirror of what's happening all the rest of the time anyway.
Yeah.
It's people lined up, one person does a trick, and everyone says, wait, what was that? I want to try that too. And then and that's all the game of flat is anyway. So I do like that it is basically a sharing exercise.
Totally. I think that, there's also this competitive factor, but I mean, it's just the less of it. So I know some people say always like, I tried that trick, never landed, but I was playing game of flat and it works.
Yeah.
Because just the energy, you know, like, and this is spicy salt of competition. Exactly. And then you just do it. But I think it's for all of us, it's just more about this fun. And also that we were thinking about that, maybe next time we can do something that is not about doing it or not, because also the game of flat is basically that. And that if you land it, it doesn't matter if you doesn't land it so pretty, but you land it. But that would be also pretty interesting, having like, I don't know, like style points or something like that. So we have to figure it out. But that would be pretty interesting also.
Just planting that seed, because we have so much space. You could just draw a big square on the ground and say, all right, you have, you know, everyone circles around and you have 30 seconds in the ring, and it's just a bracket, quick elimination, you know, like, and it could prioritize people who aren't as technical but have good flow on their skates, you know, and sure, they're maybe not doing like crazy tsunami to lion hop 360 S move, like whatever, but they have groove, you know. So anyway, just thinking like, how can we continue to bring in influences from other sports, because flatland skating is pretty open. It's pretty new. So,
Yeah, totally. Uh-huh.
Should we take some questions here before we wrap it up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's we'll scroll up a little bit here. Here's one that I found. Someone was wondering if we had any thoughts on the rollerblade flow frame. Did you guys see anybody skating that frame out in
I think
Berlin?
just Eric.
Eric and Patrick, yeah, they were skating with
Right.
them.
I've seen it in person. I thought there were some features that I liked about it for sure.
I like that it's trying to be different aesthetically. I think that's important. But I feel like rollerblade has always done rollerblade things. So
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of it's pretty cool to see Dandelion just purchased an older pair of like rollerblade brand speed skates, and it's a five-wheel frame, and it looks almost exactly the same. Like the angles, the cutouts, like it all looks very similar to the flow frame. So there's clearly like some history that they're leaning on with it. It seems tall, but any 165 five-wheel frame is going to look tall because the bolt and everything. But yeah.
So that frame was from a skate called the Fusion X3, I think. Do we know what year that was made? It looked like early 2000s to me, but
I forget what he said.
yeah,
I don't know how old it is, but
he's posted it. I don't know if he posted it on his Instagram. It's on the Swivel Council Discord for sure. What I find interesting about that frame is it actually looks, even though I'm sure that frame is it's got to be at least 20 years old, is what I'm guessing.
Sure.
Is most five-wheel 165 frames that you see on the market look identical to that.
Yeah.
And it's like Rollerblade did it 20 years ago.
Yeah. Just didn't have a rocker.
Just no rocker. Yeah. Structurally, it's a good design. Yeah.
It's got a heel bridge, like above the rear wheels, which is nice.
It's got multiple bridges, but yeah, I think, if I feel like there's a lot of people that have come into skating over the last 5 years where they don't realize that there's this very rich history that goes back many decades where many boots have been designed, many wheels, many frames. It's like it didn't all start in 2017 and 2018 with, a couple brands. So
sure.
Yeah, it's if you look hard enough, you will find that things have existed.
Cycles repeat a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I also think there's some aspect of it would be really, really cool to see a brand with that much reach have a stock complete skate with a five-wheel rockered frame. That would be amazing. I haven't seen that yet. Like a twister with the flow. It seems like it's just aftermarket, but
I don't know if they have a boot that's. I don't know if they have a boot that's really. I mean, the twister might be the candidate if they included like the Nomad liner with it, which is a little more supportive. But yeah, I don't.
Maybe
I mean, rollerblade's pretty slow to jump on trends. So
and I'd like to see them
what
do different sizes of it too, because a 5x80 on like a small skater is just really big. So
yeah,
I feel that same way about there's another question here somewhere about the ACT Wizard frame. I think that's actually what it's called. The 5x80 Icon ACT frame.
Where you can get where was that one?
2:16 p.m. I don't know if that helps.
But, I see it, but from Leon here.
Yeah, but it's more like, how would the heel lift compare to those frames? But more generally speaking, I think, having different frame sizes for different size feet is like pretty important.
Yeah, that's definitely
that's
something
not what the question is. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I've tried to make a core tenet of my design philosophy is that everything should be proportional to people's foot size. And it's we still have to fight people on it. There's a lot of people that are size 45 that insist they need a 4x80 frame. So
some people like it. One person was asking, Dade Murphy at 2:05 p.m. said, "Is it okay? Is the Ultra 90 okay for big feet, or will there be an enhanced stability version, aka like a longer version?" And And I mentioned that actually,
It kind of
yeah, it already is
in
kinda,
between. Yeah.
yeah.
My 90 ES for 165 and Trinity, the Trinity version would be the 90 LRX, is 291 millimeters. So it's pretty close. It's
It's another 2.
6 millimeters off from that. It's a
Yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of think. I mean, we designed the 285 millimeter wheelbase to be perfect for people size 40 to 44. Whereas right now, if you're like a 42, if you're like a size 42 to 44, you really don't want to skate 4x90 on if you're into flow skating. It's just
Well,
like a
yeah.
little too twitchy.
I chatted with this about with Dave Barco about this as well, because he was like, "Hey, isn't the Ultra 90 the same length as your foot?" And I said, "I didn't actually think of it that way, but yes, it's the exact same size as my foot. It's 285." And
Yeah.
so it makes sense that if you're like the classic like 27.5 size 9 skater, a 4x90 is probably fine because it's the exact size of your foot. But as soon as you start creeping above that, you're exceeding. There's some sort of like trapezoidal ratio about like wheel height and frame length that there is probably some perfect kind of scalar, like where like as your foot gets bigger, you need a bigger frame. But if you jump to a bigger wheel size, you're going to have too much height. So that's where I think stretching out the wheelbase is the most interesting kind of way to combat that. So, oh snap!
Here's
I
a
got a
good
good one
question
here.
for you, Jonathan. What elements today would make a move or combo a wizard style move? What is required to be considered wizard? And my
This is
my
a good
my
question.
follow-up question is what what elements are not core?
Or not wizard.
What things
That's
are
so
not
hard.
allowed? What things that's not wizard? If you do it in
Grinds,
combination with things that
grinds.
are wizard, but you throw in a couple extra things, what disqualifies you from
We put this rule in Game of Flat because last time we had a lot of slides and we wanted some more like swivelly action. So we put this rule, just one slide. You can
Mhm.
put three moves together and one of them can be a slide. But yeah, so I would say like, yeah, so that's the thing. So because wizard skating is getting so wide, getting from all sources, that is kind of hard to define. But still, I would say like, so yeah, the basic lexicon, the three stages, I would say just like the core of what actually wizard skating is, with a couple of
You mean
moves more like.
you're referring to three turns, either one or turns.
Yeah,
Yeah. So definitely
yeah.
if you do a three turn, that's a wizard style move. But
Mm.
stylistically, I think it involves stomping and flailing your arms about.
It can be quiet, and your arms can be quiet too.
But nobody has done any wizard moves like this.
I mean,
No.
pull them in.
Oh, yeah, maybe Kalista or Jovina,
Hmm.
But
kind
in
of.
general,
A little bit.
big arm movements over the head, right? Am I wrong? The
There's
jumps
a lot
always end in an
of that.
aggressive style stomp, like, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, boom. Yeah,
Yeah, always
that's
with
right.
the waiter arms. I mean, there's something to that. Like I'm on a swivel chair, so as I like swivel back and forth, my arms want to counteract that. I think the arms over the head thing is really just like trying to maintain balance. I mean, it's
But figure
prioritizing the
skaters don't
movement
do
of the
that.
foot. Right, because they're concerned with the entire body, whereas we are still focused, just like aggressive skaters, we're focused on what our equipment is doing. Right. If we could close our eyes and look or not look down, we would have a lot more. We wouldn't be flailing our arms. Let me just put it that way. Right. Like the reason we're flailing our arms is because we're caught off guard, caught off balance. in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think this inward kind of looking down at our feet and making sure they're doing the right thing forces us into this like closed, arched kind of movement. And so like extending the vertebrae is like not something you see very often in wizard skating. It's still very hunched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you see some skaters that have more upright posture and they don't seem to be flailing their arms as much, is how I see it. So, but you know, that's part of the movement researcher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That I'm wearing.
It's evolving. It's all evolving.
Yeah. Yeah, because let me put it this way, I don't think it's like, I think it's okay to focus on what your skates are doing because you don't want to trip and fall. Like you want to make sure that, you know, that they're going in the right direction, and it helps to look at them to do that. But then once your feet know what to do, you can start focusing on things like hands or arms and trust that your feet are going to do what they're going to do because you've trained them to do so. So I do think that wizard skating can also, or wizard style moves can include groundwork, breakdancing, right? Like Pablo is definitely the one who asked this question. He's definitely somebody who's not afraid to put his hand on the ground while he's doing a swivel or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think edge, like something about acknowledgement of edges.
Yeah, totally.
Like ReTurn is one way, but there's also like other types of, you know, if you just do a parallel swivel, it's still a wizard move in my mind because you've utilized the rocker. So really, like, there's another question that comes up with this, that comes up a lot, like online for me, is like, do you need a rocker to wizard skate?
No.
And it's like, no. If you actually use your edge, you're doing like carves, you know. And one of the things I mentioned in my workshop is that when you carve, you're basically creating like a ramp, like a quarter pipe, sideways on the ground. And if you can pump that ramp, you will generate energy from dropping into the quarter pipe at of the carve and then pushing through it and pushing out. If you watch somebody ride a skate park without pumping, like it's not very exciting. They come to a stop pretty quickly. Somebody who's skating really dynamically can carry their speed through at the whole skate park, like Takeshi or somebody. So pumping and having some knowledge of like the curvature, I think, is like a big part of it.
But it's really interesting that what you're saying also, like about the edges and the edge control. So, and something that I'm repeating all the time when I'm teaching is this is the difference. So for example, if you do like a classical 180, basically you jump and then you have two transitions basically. Now you have the weight transition and you have not your weight in your heels, but now on your toes, and you have the direction. Now you're going backwards. But basically your edges, if you jump from 0 and then you can land like outside, but you're not properly changing your edges, doing a edge transition. And that's what is happening in a lot of these wizard moves, now that you actually start on this edge and then you sweep it to the other, and then that's really, really important, and you cannot get there if you're not carving properly. So that's also like I repeat at the end of my lessons always, like it doesn't matter what, so slides or jumps or whatsoever, is avoid the straight line. So we're not speed skaters. So even speed skaters don't skate straight line. They are just like exactly. They are also doing this. Exactly. So avoid the straight line. So this is straight line, and always staying on your skates like so straight. That brings anything. Explode your edges. Go all the time like a snake. Go side to side. Explore those edges, and then a lot of things happen. I would say like this exploration of the edges makes a lot.
And actually, there was a little chat about this in a few messages up, which is I was blaming vertical filming for the way we skate. When you just plop your phone in your shoe or on a tripod like this, your field of view is forward and back straight line, out, straight line back. If you go like this, you get to do a lot more stuff. You can go sideways, you
Yeah.
can do all this, but then you can't post on Instagram unless you do like editing or
Yeah.
whatever. So, but like since a long time, I've been doing horizontal filming, and then in post, in editing, I track myself, and it presents an entirely different style of skating, in my opinion. So yeah, so there's many like influences that kind of cause the like wizard skating to look kind of linear and not have curvature. But I think that yeah, yeah, like there's our
John
technology can go
says
beyond it.
John says that's also
Yeah.
very important not to look like you're having a lot of fun. Very core.
I'm very bad with that. I'm very bad with that.
Because you're always smiling.
I'm
Oh,
always smiling. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
such a
So
fault.
that's good.
this Tempelhofer feeling, you know, when with the breeze and the sunset, it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, how can
I'm
you be
enjoying
serious
this.
in that moment? Life is beautiful.
Yeah,
And you're on
exactly.
skates.
All right. I think let's see, is there anything,
Or-
maybe this can be our last question here from Dave.
Dave.
Do you think we'll see more full skate wizard offerings like the Icon ACT Wiz in the future? Yeah, what do you think about this? I personally believe that the bigger brands are really in kingdom protection mode, like it's 2003 still. And they have not quite recognized that customers have serious disposable income for high performance skate setups. Like they kind of see 350 as like an
That's
expensive
massive.
skate,
Yeah.
whereas we all know that people are spending upwards of $1,000 on their skate setups. I mean, even an endless setup on an FR1, with like an intuition is pushing $800, right? $700 or $800. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if the big brands realize. I don't know if they're willing to take the financial risk
Hmm.
to make a
Yeah.
high end skate. What do you guys think?
So my take on it is just like I want that actually the industry develops in that way, and they produce so high tech boots and insoles and whatsoever, more wheels, please, better boots, whatsoever. But yeah, I think that's so. On my take, it's like this is a community building, teaching, and doing this kind of events. Like push a little bit more, like push that when the brands for example, Danny Aldrich was here. Danny Aldrich is basically the face of rollerblade. And then
Yeah,
when these brands are saying, okay, that's something is happening and people are really interested into that, I think that's the way to push. No? And then when I think that people are saying like, yeah, I don't know, 1,000 euros for your skates, that's pretty expensive. Think about bike packing. How much do you pay for a bike for backpacking? I don't know.
yeah.
10,000 could be easy. 10,000
Or
euros or
ski,
$10,000
Or a
or
full
just,
suspension
or
mountain
even
ski.
bike.
ski or snowboard setups.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
The boots alone are
Exactly.
1,000. Yeah.
Exactly. When people are saying to me like, yeah, what's so pretty expensive skates, pretty expensive hobby you have, and then they are on a standard bike, and I was like, dude, it's even cheaper than your hobby, and it could be just even better and better. And I feel that it could be just like this fear of not getting into risk, but I don't know. I feel like right now into the free skating, wizard skating, slides, and so on. It's just like it's growing. It's something. Is just like there. It's happening.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think this is a moment to push farther.
Yeah, I always struggle recommending a skate to new skaters because I'm like, I immediately turn into like the guy with like the red string, and I'm like, okay, so what you need to do is you get these boots and these liners, you get this frame, get different setups, and you might want
yeah.
84s,
Why
you
is it
might
so
want 80.
hard?
So crazy. But then there was the UFR 90, which I was like, okay, one of the first complete skates with a rockered frame. I don't know really of many others. And then not much else. Then there's the ACT, I guess, with the Wiz setup. That's pretty compelling. I think it's not the cheapest. And then of course there's the complete like Wizard setup, which is with with their own boot and frame and everything. And I think you're at like $1,500 for most of those setups, $1,200 to $1,500 for those. And that is a lot. So when it comes to like an entry level, there's a complete for an entry level, and then there's complete for like an elite skater or whatever you want to say, like a seasoned skater. So I guess it's tricky because it'd be nice for there to be more entry points. Like I would love to see like the Twister with the flow frame, right, as like a thing you can buy off the shelf for $500-$600, whatever. My friend who owns a skate shop in town, I think I can say this without it being revealing any of his secrets or anything like that. Basically, he's saying that everything he's doing to bring in higher end skates is being very well received. So having a bunch of entry level skates in the shop is like, okay, cool. Like, it's nice I can try them on. People don't really bat an eye at a $300 skate anymore. I think we used to put them on like this category of like a toy, or like, sure, I'll go buy a tennis racket. I don't really play tennis, but it's not that much money. I'll do it every once in a while. Or I'll get like, like not a full on snowboard, but I'll get like a little snow skate or something like that, like a little toy to maybe use once or twice. But now people are like, at least at where I live in Colorado, it's a big like sports and like outdoor activity kind of hub. And so when you have people who have the Toyota truck that was $50,000 with $10,000 mountain bike on the back with electric shifting and electric motor, I mean, a pair of skates for $300 is like almost like a pair of shoes, or a couple pairs of shoes, let's say. So as soon as that person rides the $300 pair of skates and is like, okay, like blading is cool, but like it's kind of floppy, with like some soft boot or something like that. If they had just spent $450 or $500 and gotten like something that's like a proper like responsive skate, I feel like we would hook people. It's a little harder to hook them, but then we reel them in more quickly because they're just they're like addicted to it. Now they know what it feels like already. So yeah, it would be really cool to have more completes. But yeah, there's always going to be like the tuner market or like the aftermarket kind of folks like us who just like tinker and stuff. So
that's one of the parts, that's one of the ideas with ReTurn, so that people are able to try, because like a lot of people, they had at some point in life a pair of skates, of inline skates, but the most of them were like fitness skates, soft boots, which are pretty wobbly, and you can just go for a couple of kilometers, and it's comfortable. But if you want to have some fun, real fun, you need something more responsive. And I noticed that. So when people actually try proper skates, they're just like, whoa, okay, this is fun.
This is a proper skate for a reasonable price.
Yeah,
he kept that maxed out at like $500.
It's $499, which is just a stupid price. It's too low, but that's what we're selling it at. And this is a very capable boot with the top of the line MyFit liner and endless frame stock with it's not these wheels, but these wheels. And it's $500. So I think the first company that puts endless frames and wheels on their skates as stock, they win. Selfishly.
I saw them for the first time here in Berlin a week ago. A guy just came to me, was like, yeah, dude, I see you always skating here. And I was just like, you have the new Power Slide Endless campaign. How's the name of the institution? The stuttering institution in the USA, right?
American Institute for Stuttering,
yeah.
AIS.
Yeah, and pretty dope. And he was just like, yeah, I noticed that you had also this event and so on, but I don't know, I'm just starting. I don't know. I'm learning how to go backwards and so on. But it's pretty cool that also people are just like exactly getting good quality skates to start with. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just doing research on like Reddit and, you know, trying to piece together something. Like I met my friend Brooks at a park here. Just he was a skateboarder, and I think he saw like the JK in 5D edit from
Wow. Yeah.
Wizard, which is like one of the sickest videos like that we have. And he was like, I just had to figure out how to get a skate. And so he had like a 909 them or a UFR or something like that with the arc frame. And I was like, wait, so this is your first set of skates and you have like customized like a boot only plus like the frame that that I tested. I was like, gee whiz, like that's cool that there's enough information out there where people can do that if they want to. But yeah, I think it also might be, I'll just put it out there, shops should make
Yes.
custom setups.
They should make custom setups.
Buy sebas, buy frames, put them together,
Yep.
show it on the shelf. Don't have it be this piecemeal thing where I have to like build a bear or like customize my fixie from a frame up. Show me examples of what's possible and let me then pick and see.
I think
Rollerblade really needs to get hip to this and make both the Twister and the
Lightning.
Which one?
The Lightning, the new one, or the RB?
Yeah, the Lightning would be fine, but make both those available boot only, even if it's just available to shops boot only and not to end users, just so shops can put setups together.
Yeah.
I think people need to get out, not people, but the skate manufacturers need to get out of the mindset of we're going to sell a $350 skate. They need to realize that by me making this frame, if they make a really capable boot, it allows the shop to sell a lot of amazing custom setups using their boot. Which means, and when you see somebody skating on social media, you see the boot, you see a Twister boot, you go, that guy's on rollerblades. No matter what the frame and wheels are, we go, that's a rollerblade setup, right? Or like if you see somebody wearing like a Wizard base boot, it doesn't matter if it has an endless frame on it. They say that's a Wizard setup.
Yeah.
So it's like
the boot matters.
The boot is the thing that people notice. As much as, like I would like to think that my frames stand out or my wheels stand out. But I think when you see somebody on a skate, the boot is the physically largest thing. So it's the most attention grabbing. So brands like Rollerblade, Powerslide, FR, Seba, who else? Flying Eagle, if you're listening, make boot only available. Encourage shops to make custom setups. It's okay that the shops don't put your brand's parts on the boots. You will sell more skates. That's my rant.
No, I love it.
I think Evo is like more in that way, no? So Evo is like experimenting more with different setups and custom skates. That's pretty interesting from him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more challenging maybe from inventory perspective, or just in terms of, I think they just slapped 4x80 frames on because they're just cheap and it's kind of what people seem to expect, I guess. I don't think that people actually expect that though. Like nowadays,
I call BS on it. I just think they're stuck in the
perspective. Yeah.
There's like, it's like they think that's what the dealers want to see, and the dealers kind of think that's what the customers want to see, but nobody wants any of that.
But you're not a box store. If you're like, Dick's Sporting Goods or Big Five or some sort of like, this is just another product for you, like just like you would sell a complete skateboard or a complete whatever, then sure, like you need something just cheap and easy that you have good margins on. But if you're a skate shop, like you're trying to espouse knowledge and you're trying to like build a repeat customer who's going to upgrade their equipment. And if it's not upgradable, like if it's a riveted frame, it's kind of like disposable. It starts to kind of feel
Right.
irresponsible.
Disposable.
Like the wheels are
Yeah.
trash in a few months, the plastic frames are clicking, and there's like, I've seen it with other skaters here where they hang on to their first pair of rec skates for like too long, and it starts to get like dangerous, honestly. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you need to like get a proper set of skates if you're going to do 20 miles with us. Like you're gonna eat it, you're gonna fall at some point, and it's gonna be because your wheel was like dancing around in the frame or whatever. Like they take their brake off, Anyway, so I agree. I don't know though who's
I
really
totally agree.
willing to do it.
I mean,
I
FR
don't
has
know,
made
but that would be really nice.
FR has made the FR1 available boot only, but it's not it's not easy to get. Powerslide makes like they make a next available boot only, but it's something they're not pushing. They're selling it more as like replacement parts as opposed
Yeah,
to
like a
it
shell.
being the thing that they're trying to get the shop to buy. And I mean, I don't manufacture skates, so I don't know where most of the profit comes from, but it's like, why are they trying to push a complete skate with mediocre frames and wheels versus just selling a much better boot and let the shop put the setup together?
It's barely
Yeah.
more expensive. When you see boot only versus a complete, you're like think about like a them skate. I think the boot only is like $50 less, $30 less than the
Yeah.
complete. And you're like, so this is just like like throw away the packaging almost with the stock frame. It's like imagine the customer experience as well to walk in. I've always thought this would be a really cool concept shop where it's just boots, and then over here is frames, and
It's
over
like
there is
build your
wheels.
own.
Build your own, and it's like you feel like you made something that's for you. Like, sure, if you don't have a lot of time, maybe you just want to point to the one that's already set up, but it
Yeah.
was built from its components. Like you do this with a snowboard, you don't go buy like a complete snowboard. You buy
That's
the
true.
board, you buy the bindings, you buy the boots, and there's some compatibility things with wheels and frames or with both
Yeah.
boots and bindings. But like that just feels like a more like in this day and age to just have it be transactional feels like not enough value add from a retail perspective. Like if it's like a a personalized recommendation that you're getting, and somebody's actually talking to you about what you want to do with the skates. Do you see yourself as more of a trick person? You just want to
Exactly.
go do some miles. Like that's such a richer experience. Like when a bike shop does that, like it's so much better.
Exactly.
You know,
I wanted that would be a really nice north for the industry and for retail. That's why right now in the bike shop, which I work, and that we do exactly that. It's just custom bikes. We have the frames, and then when you come, the first thing is the question: what do you want with your bike, no? And then we go through the tires, through the wheels, the group, and everything is just like customized for you, for your necessities, for your taste whatsoever. And that experience would be amazing on inline skates. Like going,
so much easier.
having an
too.
appointment, and just like, okay, let's wheels and so on. That would be great.
Oh, the fit also, like, because you do a bike fit, I'm sure, with what size stem, what width of handlebars, all this sort of stuff. It's same thing with skates. It's the first question I ask people when they're like, what skate should I get? I ask them, how are your feet wide or narrow? Because that's basically the only question we can ask at this point. And like, it's either like Twister or UFR, like if it's wide or if it's narrow, right? But then, like, I don't know. I just think that would be a much more rich experience, and I'd be willing to, as a customer, probably pay a little more for that, make an appointment, or have a drop in. Like, so.
But a shop could still come up with some curated setups that they feel are going to hit like 80% of people's needs, right?
Of course.
But then have it the ability to, I feel like there's a different business model that could be pursued. And when shops are going to need to request it, shops are going to need to basically try and make that work and request those products.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be great to just see the manufacturers recognize that maybe that is a better way of selling their goods to shops. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to be the first person that's going to want to deviate from
great.
the
Concept store.
25-year-old model.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's an older model for sure. And it's encouraging though to hear from my buddy Aaron that, going from the previous model of just sell as many as possible of the cheapest skates you can get your hands on is not really resonating as much with like this market, at least in my city. And that people are kind of a little more interested in, like, they don't bat an eye at a skate that's $100-$200 more than the cheap one, because when you look at a Twister, you're like, oh yeah, I can see why this would be worth that much. It's like my ski boots. And that connection that somebody makes, like, oh, it's just like my ski stuff, that puts it in a different category of equipment. It's not just a toy anymore. It's not just rollerblading. It's not just a toy anymore. That's our tagline.
Yeah, there you go.
All
right.
Well, anyway, yeah.
So
fun to think about what could be possible in like a, even like an online shop that does that would be possible as well. Like
Great
frame wheel, kind of cool. So
anyway. All right, cool. I think that's probably a good note to end on. Wow, we chatted for a long time. It's been over 2 hours. So thanks guys for joining me today to chat about all
Thank
this
you, Brad.
random skate nerd stuff, as we always do. And thanks to everybody that's been, joining us on YouTube and Instagram. Appreciate all the questions and comments in the chat. We'll probably do this again next month. We'll pick another fun topic to talk about. But if you want to find out more about Return Berlin, where can people go, Jonathan?
So first of all, I recommend you to go to YouTube and look the Game of Flat. Check our website, return.berlin. Get subscribed to the newsletter. We have our reunion in 2 days. Then maybe soon we're gonna confirm 2026. We have to reunion and then see if we want to do this crazy shit again. But I think and just Instagram also, Return Berlin. And would be great to have you here next year.
Yeah,
Also
Brad,
you,
gotta
Brad.
make the trip. You got to do it.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get healthy and make my way out there. All right. Well, on that note, we'll see everybody on the next episode. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye-bye.